I'm Anastasia from OKR Consortium, and I'm so excited to be joined today by someone whose work in OKR space and just in general has been incredibly impactful. Aisha, thank you for being here. Would love to start with your journey and how did you first get involved with the OKR Consortium?
Great. My involvement with the OKR Consortium stemmed from a shared purpose, helping organizations bridge the gap between strategy and execution through a globally aligned practitioner approach. So I found that quite unique about the OKR Consortium, and it just aligned with my own purpose. So as someone deeply invested in translating strategy to meaningful results, partnering with the OKR Consortium was just a natural fit. So, I mean, it provided just a platform to share insights, learn from global experts, and contribute to a collective body of knowledge that's shaping OKR excellence across the globe.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what is your background? How does it connect with OKRs?
My background spans over 2 decades of experience in strategic transformation, organizational development, and human capital management, particularly through the lens of ISO standards, people analytics, sustainability, ESG, the common themes and trends that are driving the change in the world. And it's making it so globalized that the need to have an agile framework, such as OKRs, OKRs would have aligned with my approach, something that requires a data-driven approach, whether working with SMEs or boards. I just found that OKRs were just the most effective frameworks for aligning and driving, accountability and sustainability.
Okay, so it seems like it was a natural kind of, not even a shift, but sort of journey for you with OKRs then. And what made you decide to go deeper and really focus on OKRs in your work?
I found that there was a recurring theme of strategies just never making it past the boardroom. And it was just such a headache because you'd find that the board, the management will discuss the strategy for the organization, which is, of course, setting the tone for the organization. However, articulating it or percolating it further down beyond these key stakeholders was a challenge. So I needed to find a way of being able to translate it without losing the substance of, the message, the strategy itself. So through, research, I discovered, yeah, there's so many frameworks, great management frameworks, but OKR just stood out for me. And I found it so easy to relate with, and I found it fun and exciting because, you would find that teams would participate in it, and it wasn't just an instruction that was shoved down their throats like, look, this is it, this is our strategy, this is our blueprint, work with it. No, but with OKRs, it was clear that, look, yes, we do have a bigger picture, but we want everybody to be part of that big picture. So can you just be part of it? Let us know how you want us to make you part of that picture and see that we deliver, on our strategic objectives as an organization. So yeah, I found OKRs to just be the, perfect tool, for driving that kind of strategic execution and results.
Right. Yes, it sounds like it's a method that will fit a lot of people. And this is what we want in big organizations. We want everyone to, align on their strategy. And you said you've worked with a variety of organizations. And what has that experience been like when it comes to OKRs? Are people, keen or maybe they're skeptical at first? What has been your experience with it?
There's always skepticism. Anything that, you try to introduce to an organization that they're not already familiar with, there's always a pushback, there's always some form of resistance. It's normal. And that's why for me, like change management principles are key in everything that I try to do and I try to deliver. Because if you want the shift from a strategy as a document to strategy, as a discipline, then you would need a tool such as OKR. But in doing that, you definitely need change management principles like, Carter's 8 step, which I find also quite indispensable because it requires a lot of stakeholder engagement, communication, discussion, and, making them part and parcel of, what you're trying to achieve. So yes, there's always that diverse pushback, from different organizations, be it small, be it corporates. I've seen it in the public sector and the private sector. I've seen it, So OKRs drive clarity. But once you make them understand the power of OKR, the magic behind it, which is really its simplicity and its agility, they tend to, start opening their minds to the possibilities, of being able to create something successful for the organization, knowing that they're part of that change, part of that outcome, So it's been an interesting journey.
Well, it sounds like you're doing an amazing job. And what would you say were some of the biggest challenges, apart from obvious resistance from people who might not know anything about OKRs and are skeptical? And what do you think, what are the biggest challenges that companies face when rolling out OKRs?
First, confusing OKRs with KPIs. I mean, that just leads to overly task-focused objectives, okay? And then also overloading the teams, too many OKRs without prioritization. So people, when they want to start off, are like, oh, you find them chasing every shiny object. It's like, no, OKRs don't work that way. We need OKRs to just prioritize what matters so that we can measure it and see the impact. So focusing on one or two key areas would be a good start, not just everything. We cannot just do everything. It's not tidy, it's not healthy, it's not good for the organization. Then, of course, lack of leadership, sponsorship, and following up. So if the leaders at the top are not big on OKRs or do not believe in OKRs or do not understand OKRs, then you will not get that support. So it doesn't really go too far, So leadership support is very key. That sponsorship is key. They must be part of it. And also the poor cadence discipline, where check-ins and reflections are just like a one-off exercise, like, we've done it, tick. No, it's a continuous, iteration process. It has to be continuous.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure every organization faces these challenges every now and then, but that's why we are there to help them if the help's needed. And in your view, why OKRs are such a powerful tool? You have mentioned that you like the simplicity. Is there anything else that you like about OKRs?
It's agility. The fact that it's agile, it's very relatable. It's not rocket science. Yes, there's the need for the foundational training for people to understand the concept, how it works. But once they know how it works, they own part of that OKR because they have to craft their, key results. They have to draft, their own ideas into it. So seeing it manifest from just a script to measurable milestones, key results. It's amazing. So it just has that uniqueness about it, which you don't see in very common management frameworks. So yeah,
Yes,
it's one of those things for me that stands out.
I agree with you completely. And as someone who has got over 20 years of experience at this moment in many different areas, what advice would you give to organizations that are just starting their OKR journey?
I would say start small, use a spreadsheet. You can't go wrong with Excel. Yeah, you don't need a software immediately. Eventually you will, but just start small. Start with a simple spreadsheet like Excel. Choose one or two areas in the organization that you want to see immediate measurable impact and outcome. And gather a team of volunteers that want to drive that. So yes, you would have to rub minds with them, make them see the concept, believe in it, and, be able to champion it. So what I would refer to as OKR buddies, so you need them to be those buddies that, can help push, and then they can also help champion and help train people, make them understand that, so that the OKRs are easily co-created, they're visible, and they have that impact, and it can be seen. So it's something that that builds momentum as you see it unfold, as you're measuring, as you're doing your check-ins, you're doing your quarterly cycles and things like that. So it's very, very important. And then focusing on the outcomes. It's very important, because there has to be an end result where you want to see what I've started, as I mentioned, as a script. I've done all these activities of checkings, of cycles. I want to see what the outcome is, just from that. So yes, involving teams, is very, very important in the process. And OKRs are, like I mentioned, most powerful when they're co-created. So I would advise that, people just start with something as simple as that.
That's a great tip. I'm sure small steps are always better to start with and then see how and where you get with those. And looking ahead, how do you see the future of OKRs evolving?
We're already seeing a great transformation in that space of OKRs being integrated with other disciplines, from ESG reporting to agile delivery and even ISO standardization. So I believe the future is in connected performance, where OKRs, analytics, strategy converge in a real-time feedback system, an ecosystem that will thrive beyond just isolated, disciplines, but that convergence is happening already. So as AI and data tools become more accessible, more relatable, OKRs will become more dynamic, and it will be more predictive and more personalized.
I agree with you. We can see the change happening all the time, and I think we see it as a positive change. We enjoy evolving together with the whole world. And my last question for you today, what excites you the most about being part of OKR Consortium?
The diversity of thought and shared ambition to improve how organizations work. The energy, there's always excitement in what partners, of OKR Consortium are doing, and you're always seeing, the great works, that are being carried out across the globe. And being part of such a global community where practitioners exchange real insights beyond just theory. I mean, it's energizing. It's an opportunity to influence practice, elevate standards, and help more organizations turn their vision into reality.
I love that. Aisha, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure a lot of people will find your insights great and useful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.